So Ballinkillen had their hearing there on Wednesday night. No decision made just yet after St Mullins were awarded the semi-final.
It's interesting. Yeah, no decision has been made, but they're out of the championship at the moment. So, they're waiting to make a decision whether they're going to reinstate them or what. You would think that maybe there is an actual decision coming. Like, no decision would suggest they're just going to still be out of it. But maybe the fact that it's dragging on a bit longer, maybe they're going to get reinstated. But this could drag on to a week after it's happened. So you'd have doubt then about whether it's going to happen or not. You just don't know.
Yeah, so St Mullins don't know whether do we prepare for Mount Leinster Rangers in the final or do we prepare for Ballinkillen. They just don't know. I mean, for those who didn't see the story, it was a case of a fixture clash that the weather had played havoc. And then there's a couple of guys who play with Ballinkillen who also play football.
Guys,
yeah. And then the football match ended up clashing with the hurling match, which was a county semi-final. And all hell broke loose. Ballinkillen line out, and Carlow ended up awarding the semi-final to Naomh or to St Mullins.
It seems to be more of a sign of the lack of respect amongst Waterford or amongst Carlow County Board for hurling within the county. Like, there are 5 designated hurling weekends in Carlow for a county that, without being smart, they're not going till August and September. They're going to be out early, so there's no reason why they shouldn't be given more respect than they are. And the little few games that they play, when the problem like this should not be arising on one of those weekends.
And I know there's Carlow Rising and all that, but you have to help yourself too. And this happened with Naomh Breed, I think a week ago as well. So a couple of times in such a short space of time, it's very hard to defend it. So we'll wait to see what happens there. Loads of matches going on this weekend. We'll just start with the semi-finals in Cork. So you've Carricktool against Glen Rovers. I think that's got to be Glen Rovers all the way.
You'd imagine so, yeah. Even though Patrick Horgan, by his highest of high standards, has probably been somewhat quiet in their last couple of games, but he could explode in that game.
Missed the penalty against Newtown Chandram, but that could have been down to the conditions too, not catching the ball right. Carricktool, they kind of started the championship with a 24-point loss to the Bars, I think it was, and they're the perennial underdogs. The other semi-final, Imokily against the Bars. So the divisional team idea, I think there are people in Cork already after watching them win 2 in a row that are thinking, we need to disband this. And then again, what do all these small dispersed clubs do? If you're Seamus Harnedy, how do you kind of get your name out there?
No, it's a fair point, yeah. And I was actually chatting to Dennis Hurley, who was down in Cork yesterday in the More Newer, and he was saying that one of the clubs involved with Imokily are going to be senior next year.
Yeah, in their own right.
So they're going to lose some of their players. They can only pick from, within that division, they can only pick from clubs that are intermediate or lower. So they're going to lose a couple of players. I just think it's one of those situations where it's just like a golden generation in amongst a couple of clubs. When you mix them all together, it's not always going to be that way. And there was no problem with Imokily until they started winning county titles. So I don't think there's any great problem with it, I have to say.
There was no problem with Dublin until they stopped or started winning absolutely everything either.
No.
How far does it have to go before, and I'm not saying it will, because this is probably just a great generation at one time, but how far does it have to go before people start saying, can't have this?
Yeah, the club is a little different than Dublin now. But you had UCD, you've had UCC down through the years, you had Thomond College winning All-Ireland Club Football All-Ireland. It's like it all changes from year to year.
What about Cork teams in general? Like, they keep seeming to get hammered once they, well, not always hammered, but they're not exactly having a huge amount of success in recent times when they come out.
They've had very little success. I was down, who was it last year? Middleton. Middleton were beaten. It was a fairly close game, to be fair, by Ballygunner. But I can't actually remember offhand the last time they won a game. To be honest with you, it's after Newtown Chandram.
Yeah.
Definitely someone won a couple of games, but they've had very, very little success. The Glen obviously got to a Munster final against Ballinkillen a couple of years ago, but they just haven't. For a county that has dominated with the Bars, Blackrock, the Glen winning All Irelands and loads of Munster titles, they just haven't had that dominance at all. But saying that, like, Tipperary haven't had too much. Like outside of like Thurles winning one Munster.
Yeah, and Tumivara had a bit before that, but not too much.
In the last 10 years, like, do you know what I mean?
And no All-Ireland since '87, Bursley, of course. But the top scorer in the Cork Championship is Declan Dawson, who's been playing full forward, I think, a bit. And we've seen him with the Cork senior team this year. Jamie Coughlin is in second, Conor Lahan third, Darragh Fitzgibbon 4. Like an awful lot of these teams are out at this stage. Patrick Horgan isn't even in the top 7 or 8, so he scored 27 points, 20 from frees. Limerick final this weekend. It's kind of it's the second time that Na Piarsaigh and Patrickswell are going to be on telly against each other just in this season alone, and they're looking to win the title under a third different manager, looking for the hat-trick. Shane O'Neill won it with them in 2017, Paul Beery 2018, and now Michael Ryan from Tipperary looking to complete the hat-trick. That's fair going under 3 different managers.
It actually is, to be fair, yeah. And obviously Michael Ryan is like the first kind of outside manager they had. The other two boys have both been inside the club. So it'd be a big thing for Mick Ryan, I suppose, his first management team since moving away from Tip. He'd be gunning for a county title, and if they're to win a county title, they're going to have serious aspirations to win a Munster and All-Ireland without being smart.
Yeah, and William O'Donoghue, their captain, who plays for Limerick, of course, he was saying, I think we had something like 43 at training last week, and that's nothing but positive. It's fantastic that our intermediates are competitive, and you can see fellas have come from intermediate like William Henn, and there are several others with that type of capability. That was in the Limerick leader.
We have his name.
William Henn.
William Henn.
Yeah, scoring for sport.
Hen comes to roost. There's so many different like headlines there. Like
get out. So as I said, second time they've met on TG Carr this year. Patrickswell won the group game 217 to 115. At the same time, the Piarsaigh are heavy favourites for this game, and but then again, Patrickswell, they have Diarmuid Burns, they have Aaron Gallan, they have Lynch, Jason Gallan as well. Looks like a very tidy scorer. So, but still in all, would you be just thinking muscle memory and the Piarsaigh are going to get it done?
Well, I thought that Kilmallock could give them lots of it in the semi-final, and they did for long stages. Shane Dowling is out. Peter Casey didn't play the semi-final. Reported to be playing the final or to be back for the final. I think Mick Ryan said after. But I wouldn't be too surprised if Patrickswell won now, but honest with you. There seems to be, while new names and new players are great, there seems to be an awful lot of new names that maybe could be playing their first county final. William Henn included and a few other lads. So no, I wouldn't be too surprised if Patrickswell won. Should be a belter of a game though.
The next two sets of semi-finals are awkward enough to talk about because you're involved in one and I'm involved in the other, so we'll have to tiptoe away the finest. We'll start off with yours. So Burr against Kilcormac-Killahee. You're expecting to win a pint of man. I know, I'm only joking. But Kilcormac-Killahee won a lot of titles in the last number of years, and one of the things that stood out is that they're unbelievable competitors, and they got themselves to an All-Ireland final, and I think they had some very harsh red cards that day.
2 red cards, and Daniel Kerms broke his arm or wrist or something the week beforehand, so he was out.
Yeah, and like when you think that that was against St. Thomas's, I don't know, I think they were very, very unfortunate that time. They're unbelievable competitors.
They've only actually won 4 senior titles in their history. Their first was 2012, and they've basically won 4 since.
Yeah.
In the kind of same time, we haven't won one since 2008. We're actually going for 5 in a row in 2008.
Is there a good buzz in the town?
There is at the moment. It'd be better buzz if we're in the final now, to be honest with you. Yeah.
Well, you'll have to stop Keelan Kiley, Jar Helian, Kevin Grogan, Conor Mahan, Kieran Slevin. So yeah, you are the traditional heavyweights around there, but I can't press you too hard, but maybe we'll find out after the game a few more of your thoughts on it.
Hopefully so.
Yeah, the other one then, Belmont against St. Rynagh's, so the Battle of the Shannon, as you were telling me, and Furban are the football wing of Belmont, and they're already in the football final against Road. So they've never won a senior title, and Oisín Kelly, Kelly actually, yeah.
Yeah, they're a peculiar case because there's a serious lack of forwards in Offaly, whereas Belmont have probably a surplus of forwards and maybe a small deficit in the backs, but they put up huge scores. Oisín Kelly's a big goal threat. David Nally, middle of the field, he's pint size, but he's sweet, and he just delivers brilliant ball into the forward line. It's going to be really, really interesting. All those lads would have went to school together, all the Rynagh's lads. Rynagh's they've only won 1 county title since 1993. That was in 16. Betting a few finals.
They were beaten by Owlert in Leinster that year.
Yeah, they would have had, I think 2 or 3 lads actually left after the county final or went travelling. They have the likes of Ben Kennedy, Aidan Tracy, Stephen Quirk, Sean Dole, and all lads who've been involved at Offaly at different stages. That's going to be a belter of a game. That's in Burr on Saturday. There'll be a massive crowd down at that, and it's a hard game to call, to be honest with you.
And their Camogie team completed the 3 in a row last weekend.
Yeah, they won the 3 in a row last weekend in Burr. They came from behind against Shinrone, so that's what they've to try and live up to, yeah.
And Rynagh's, of course, Michael Dignan's club as well.
Yeah, Ken Hogan's actually over Rynagh's as well.
Oh, is he, yeah?
Ken Hogan, who actually, while still playing with Tipperary, managed Burr to an All-Ireland club final in 1992 as well. Like, yeah.
That's fair going.
And has also managed Coolderry to a couple of county titles and an All-Ireland club final.
And Borris-Kilcotton.
And Borris-Kilcotton, yeah. He's one of these guys where generally where he is gone, like silverware has followed. Yeah.
Maybe just not with Tipperary now.
And maybe hopefully not with Rhinos from my point of view.
Right, the Dublin semi-finals are on this weekend. On one side of it you have Crave Kieran against St. Bridget's. So there's actually 3 out of the 4 teams involved here are north side clubs, and everyone would talk about all the super clubs in the south side, Coola, Kilmacud, Ballyboden, for example, and there are other teams that are on the up as well, but it's a bit of a fight back from the north side. And Crave Kieran have a number of titles, but I don't think they've won one since 2006. St. Bridget's,
we actually beat them in Leinster that year. Yeah.
Oh, did you? Yeah.
Ger Ennis was still playing. McCrabb was only a young fella, and they used to have that brilliant wing back, the red haired Derek O'Reilly, was it? It was Derek O'Reilly, yeah. He was tasty, absolutely. He was riddled with injuries. He would have had a brilliant career with Dublin otherwise. But yeah, like we've probably written off Crave a couple of times already this year. I probably didn't expect them to get through their quarter final either. They beat Vincent's this year already very handily in April, didn't they?
They beat him very, very well.
And as I said, the last day, Francis Usanga wasn't named to start and started full forward and was an absolute handful the last day. That's going to be an interesting, it's a big opportunity for one of them to get to a county final that you probably wouldn't have been expecting at the start of the year.
Crave, anytime that I've played them, whether it's a club or whether it's league or whether it's championship, their use of the ball is very, very good. They like to work the ball up the field. There's some very good handlers of the ball.
When you have a player like Alan McCrabb as well, though, you're going to. It's all about possession, isn't it? Really, and trying to get your best players on the ball.
That'll be what St. Bridget's will be trying to do. Tie him down. Dara Plunkett will probably be their centre back or kind of sweeping somewhere along that line, and you'll have the likes it'd be interesting to see if John O'Loughlin, the Laois footballer, if he's playing with them, because he's been with them for a number of years.
Did he feature the last day?
I'm not 100% sure because I was watching it from the sideline. I think as we were warming up, so I didn't see that fully.
You got a good view from the sideline anyway. That's the main.
Right, good view. That's the main thing. Where I am. You haven't played too much lately either.
No.
But the other guy to watch out for is Paul Winters. He's been on the Dublin panel in the past. Very good striker of a ball if he gets enough of it.
The other semi-final, I'll take it from there. The other semi-final is obviously Coola and Vincent's in Parnell at 4:30.
Could be one on the bench.
It could be. I doubt it will be. It might be good half-time entertainment. Without being smart, Coola, you'd have to say are heavy favourites. To be heavy favourites to win the Dublin Championship at this stage. Vinnies are probably not a surprise, but they were underdogs to beat Nafina in the quarter final, and
to beat Ballyboden actually.
Ballyboden, sorry, and they'll be heavy underdogs again. As I say, they're probably on a roll. I know Bowden hadn't been going as well. Definitely hadn't been going as well as last year. But you'd have to have Coola as heavy favourites. Yeah,
very close semi-final a couple of years ago between the two of us. So
yeah, you do whatever you can just to try and make it seem as tight as possible.
You don't want to know about the facts. The Kilkenny quarter-finals are on this weekend, so I'll just run through the fixtures and we'll kind of touch on them then. Mullinavat are against O'Loughlin's, Dixborough against Erin's Own, Ballyhale against Clara, and James Stevens against Rower and Steig. And then of course the relegation final is Bennett's Bridge against St. Patrick's of Ballyraggett. Hard not to smile anytime you say Ballyraggett, but I think everyone knows why. Anything that kind of tickles your fancy from those quarterfinals?
Yeah, Mullinavat and O'Loughlin's definitely does. I think there's a fair possibility of an upset there. Mullinavat over the last 3 or 4 years, they're a really, really difficult side to beat from everything I know. The Malones in particular. I think Willie O'Dwyer came back and actually hit a few points the last day as well. They've got a succession of games now under their belt, which is a very positive thing as well.
The replay against Ballycallan, of course, is
there's talk of Hugh Lawler. There's not talk. Hugh Lawler is out by all accounts with a broken hand or a broken wrist.
Still have Paddy Deegan. He is such an impressive player. I know he got a lot of criticism for his use of the ball in the All-Ireland final, but very, very good at club level, very good at county level. We played them in a challenge match not so long ago. Use of the ball really good. Forwards interchanging, great speed. Backs were using the ball well. I don't know. I think they're an outside bet to win the county title, and maybe that's not too much of a shock to anyone else.
I think it'll be very tight, to be honest with
you. Dixborough, Erin's Own. Dixborough won it a couple of years ago. Yeah. If they had everyone fit and flying, they wouldn't be too far away at all.
That's not a 50-50 game, but it's a 60-40 game in Dixborough's favour. Because Comer are dangerous and they're very like Mullinavat. They're very, very hard beaten. And you have Conor Delaney and Conor Fogarty obviously probably spearheading the defence, or maybe one of them at midfield. That'll be a tight game as well. That's live on RT at the weekend as well too.
As is Ballyhale against Clare, and we'll see if TJ Reid is okay. He's had an ankle injury. He's been in the gym as always, as I've seen on Instagram, but he hasn't really shown too many close-ups with his ankle, so it's hard to know.
It all hinges on whether he plays or not. Well, it doesn't all hinge, but a lot hinges on it. Clare are more than capable of taking them down, even with him. But without him, they're definitely more than capable.
Well, they're a team that went and won a Club All-Ireland at the intermediate level, and then straight away they're going up. They went up. Wasn't it the very following year they went and won the senior title?
There was a great kind of emotional speech after, because he was told that he'd never be able to hurl again and had heart problems and things like that. And they won their county title. Yeah, Lester Ryan got a 21-yard free and he threw it into the 13 before the rule was introduced.
Cheddar's Village are maturing at the right time. James Stevens
beautiful.
against the Roar. I wonder will Eddie Kerr tog out. I'd get a few minutes out. If Willie O'Dwyer is togging.
PJ Delaney, who used to play with Fenians and Kilkenny, is over the Roar as well. Be interesting. James Stevens are heavy favourites to win that game, and I'd be surprised if they don't win by 5 or 6. Seem to be maturing, shall we say, or coming to the boil just at the right time.
It'll be some drop for Bennett's Bridge if they go down to intermediate after getting to a final last year. And did they only lose that by 3 points to Ballyhale?
Yeah,
they had every chance
they were kind of coming back, and I think it was quite tight. It was a high scoring final. I think Jason Clear is suspended, and David Blanchfield, who anyone who watched the Kilkenny under-20s this year would know, very impressive player. But he, as I was saying to you a couple of weeks ago, I think he fell like doing some team bonding thing or something and broke his hand a couple of weeks ago as well, or his wrist, so he's going to be out as well. So, and like relegation finals, Ballyragget just need to keep it tight and try and bring them down the home straight and pressure, and people start making uncharacteristic mistakes they wouldn't miss before. So that's not a foregone conclusion.
Yeah, you have two teams meeting. They're obviously both in bad form. If you're in a relegation form, you haven't been flying. So,
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The Kildare senior hurling final is on this weekend. Kyle Dove against Naas. Kyle Dove, famous for Shawnee Johnson as much as anything, the cabin footballer who transferred over to Kildare. He will have no bearing on this game, but you were looking into this game a bit.
Yeah, no, Kyle Dove were actually beaten by 27 points by Naas earlier on in the year, and then like totally turned things around and actually beat them in the league final. But like one of the most important things for Kyle Dove is that they have Johnny Byrne available to him. Johnny Byrne, the former Kildare footballer, he could be future Kildare footballer again. I'd imagine he will come back in under Jack O'Connor. He's one of their best players, operates between the full and half hour line, and by all accounts seems to get like 3 to 4 points from play in nearly every game. I think there was a bit of an issue last year about him not being let play a game for Kyle Dove. I think it was like 8 days before they played Kerry in the Super 8s, and I think they were beaten in that game. And he just seems to be one of those players that seems to have a massive effect on them when he does play. So like Naas being able to tie him down, or if they can tie him down or not, would have a big bearing on whether they can win or not. And I think his father is over the team as well. Right. So it's obviously a big thing that's going to tug at the heartstrings for him. So that's maybe one of the reasons why he wasn't in with Kildare this year. I don't know. Naas on the other side then haven't won a county title. Kyle Dove won in 14 and 15. Naas haven't won in 17 years. And everybody's been talking about, all the underage work, all the underage success, college's success even as well. They haven't been able to, it has translated to senior, just haven't been able to get over the line. And this is, if they don't get over the line this year, it would be a really big kind of slap in the face for them, because they would have been expected to do it even in the last 3 or 4 years. And
the winner gets the Tony Carew Cup, named after the father of Tom.
Yeah, Kildare legend. Yeah, so it's going to be an interesting game. There'll only be a score in that either way.
So the Meath final is on also this weekend. Kildare against Kiltale. Kildare haven't won it since 2011, whereas Kiltale are looking for a 6 in a row, which hasn't been done since Kilmessan in the 1940s. The Kilmessan Camogie team, they've been in All-Ireland finals in the past couple of years, as far as I remember. So it's a meeting of the two teams that have dominated this decade.
Do you ever associate like one player with one county? Like the minute I see Meath hurling, I just think Nicky Horn. That's all I think of straight away. Kilmessan won. Oh God, he played for Meath for about 20 years. And it's just, even from reading the paper as a young fella, when I associate, to be honest with you, Kildare, Tom Carew would be what I associate with Kildare hurling, and Nicky Horn would be what I associate with Meath, just from growing up. It's weird.
Sean Boylan, the way he's obviously a Meath footballing legend, managed them for 23 years. He played for Kildare for, was it at least a decade? Played for Meath.
That's
for
right,
at least a decade,
and was hurling manager as well. Before he was football manager.
Absolutely loves the hurling. Like I've done interviews with him in the past, and he waxes lyrical about it. Roscommon final is on this weekend. at league against Four Roads. So last year the champions were at league. 4 Roads have their 33 titles, and they were going for 9 in a row in 2016, but they've lost their final since.
Lost the last 3, yeah. One of the 16 one after a replay. So like, for losing 4 finals in a row would be fairly sick now.
Yeah.
But there again, like talking about Nicky Horn and Tom Crew, when I think of Roscommon hurling, 4 Roads is just what comes into your head straight away. Like, so yeah, that should be an interesting final as well.
What's the handiest club All-Ireland that was ever won?
Handiest club All-Ireland.
I'll tell you why. So we've mentioned 4 Roads of Roscommon there, and they were one of the teams that Buffers Alley had to beat en route to winning the All-Ireland club title in 1989. So Buffers Alley from Wexford, for people who don't know them. Now, they had a tough enough, it would have been tough to get through their county, of course. It would have been tough to get through Sheer Kieran and Ballyhale in the Leinster Championship. But from here on out, the 2 teams they beat were 4 Roads of Roscommon, and they beat O'Donovan Rossa of Antrim. So if you were told beat a team from Roscommon and Antrim to win an All-Ireland club title, you'd be thinking I've a right good chance. And that's not to play down Antrim hurling, especially because they had beaten Patrickswell away from home, which would have been no mean feat down in Limerick at that stage. But just even the optics of it, because people always do talk about those. But actually, just even to talk a bit more about 4 Roads of Roscommon, they beat Abbey Knockmoy in the Connacht final at that time, 3-5 to 1-8. And 27 years on, in 2015, Abbey Knockmoy got revenge on them by beating them in the Connacht intermediate final. Yeah. So that's great stuff.
Handiest club All-Ireland?
Any All-Irelands. It can be like how Kilkenny just had to show up and win a couple of those handy ones in the noughties when they'd beat a terrible Offaly team, a terrible Wexford team.
Offaly weren't terrible.
The Munster teams would have been beating the snot out of the Munster teams would have been beating the snot out of each other and would have been punch drunk by the time they meet a fresh and lively Kilkenny team who had walked all over ye.
I tell you what, and this leaves all patriotism at the door, but the first All-Ireland Offaly won in 1981. They won their first Leinster in 1980, so they were seeded into a semi-final. They beat Laois in a semi-final. Was it 6-10 to 320 or something like that? Yeah, 320 to 610, and they beat Wexford in the final. They got a bye to the All-Ireland final and beat Galway. So like, three games to win All-Ireland, if you're told it to beat Laois, Wexford and Galway back then. And like, don't get me wrong, that 1981 team, and I love every one of them, and the hand pass goal and everything. But as All-Ireland's go, that's not bad. But there was an All-Ireland intermediate title won a couple of years ago. I think Cork won it. Cork beat Kilkenny, and I think that was the only game they played. Or no, it was the only game Kilkenny played, and I think that's about right. A couple of years, because All-Ireland Intermediate is a bit of a farce now.
And then the Dublin ladies footballers, they just basically showed up and beat Westmeath in the Leinster final the last couple of years.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's handy enough for them.
Don't at me, Offaly people. I love that 81 All-Ireland, and just saying that was immediately
at ML Verney.
That's what came to my head.
Let us know what you think the handiest All-Ireland ever won was, and it can be any code, it can be men's, women's, just let us know. And,
do you think the 2013 All-Ireland was handily won by Clare? I know you've said before it was a fluke.
I think they never backed it up. Yeah, so Tipperary were on a bit of a lull that year and were beaten by Kilkenny in the back door, having just been kind of beaten at the death by Limerick in the Munster Championship. I think Kilkenny had a load of injuries and they were just waiting for someone to beat them, and obviously Cork beat them in the quarter-final when there was a red card for Henry Shefflin after something like 28 minutes. So who did Cork beat, or Clare beat en route to winning that All-Ireland? They lost to Cork in the first round of the Championship, went through the back door where they beat a Wexford team that was more or less at nothing at the time.
Beat them after extra time.
They might have hammered Laois, who weren't exactly flying at the time.
Yeah, they put big scores.
Everyone was putting cricket scores up on them at the time. All-Ireland semi-final beat a Limerick team that missed 1-5 of 1-6 in the first 11 minutes. And then they beat Cork after a replay. A Cork team that basically did, alright, they won a Munster title here and there, so, but they weren't exactly collecting All-Ireland titles. So, you know, that's why I'd say that Clare team just never backed it up. But look, I've caused many, I've had quite a few people get on to me about that before. So yeah, let us know what you think was the handiest All-Ireland. Wicklow final is on this weekend, and you were saying to me Bray Emmets against Glenealy is a battle of the Wexford managers.
Yeah, it's a tasty final, to be honest with you. So you've Gary laughing over Glenealy going for 3 in a row. We talked about kind of here last week about the Bosco father and son. They have a lot of lads that would have played played for Wicklow in recent years, the likes of Warren Kavanagh, Gary Byrne, Danny Staunton. They're coming up against Bray. Bray were actually going for 3 in a row before Glenealy won their first. Bray'd have John Henderson, son of John, that used to play with Kilkenny. They're managed by Paul Carley, also from Wexford, who broke Offaly hearts in 2004 with that goal in the Leinster final. Don't know if Gary Laffin and Paul Carley was actually sub in '97, I think, actually, now that I say it. So they would know each other very well. And so that's just an interesting little aside. There'll be very little in that. I think Bray won them when they played earlier on in the group, but there's going to be very little in that.
You have to go back 10 years for anyone else to win the Wicklow title. It was Carnew Emmets who lost the final last year. So as you said, Glenealy looking for 3 in a row.
My apologies, Bray were going for 4 in a row when they were stopped.
The Laois semi-finals are on this weekend. Borris Kilcotton against Clock Ballycollah and Camross against Rathdowney Earl. Did Camross play Rathdowney Earl in that county final last year? That was fairly tasty one that ended up with the butt of the hurley ended up in Ross King's face.
Is that like a rhetorical question, or like you know the answer to the question?
I'm just waiting for you to expand on it.
Listen, sure, there was such a furore and a controversy over that. Ross obviously had to go off, and it was probably one of the main kind of factors maybe in Camross winning, I suppose. When you lose a county player just before half time, but you'd imagine that's going to be fairly tasty.
I'd say Eddie Brennan will be going in watching this like, oh my God, I hope nobody starts on anyone here, because like Laois hurling has been kind of infamous for having incidents over the years, and that's the last thing you'd want to see here.
And he will want the likes of Kieran Collier and a few more from Camross back involved. Like, their numbers aren't exactly huge. There should be a good swell of optimism around Laois. The last thing he wants is any sort of controversy, so hopefully that just goes off without a hitch, and there's no like scenes like we saw last year.
The London Senior Hurling Championship round 3 is on this weekend. Thomas McCurtain's against Brother Pearse. Let us know if there's anything particularly cool happening in London, any players that we should former county players or what have you that we might know of.
I actually, when I lived over in London for 9 months, I took a good few sessions for Brother Pearse's actually.
Did you?
Yeah, Brother Pearse's is an interesting one. JP Ray is the fella's name. He was manager of Brother Pearse's, but his father played for London in an All-Ireland semi-final. I'm going to say it was 73 or a quarter-final for London, and his brother was playing for Limerick. They're originally for Limerick.
There was Ned Ray and was it? I'm going to look it up there now.
I just can't think of
was
their
it
names.
Jerry Ray and Ned Ray?
Could have been, yeah. But it's another one of those mad things.
Were they marking each other?
I think one was full forward and one was full back.
Yeah.
I'm fairly sure. Yeah, fairly sure they were. Yeah, it's one of those crazy scenarios that can only happen in the GAA. Really,
and that's why we love it.
Yeah.
Tipperary, the preliminary quarterfinals are on this weekend, so plenty of the big hitters waiting in the quarterfinals. But Mullinahone against Toomevara, so Owen Kelly up against against Benny Dunn, maybe Tommy Dunn. I think he might have some involvement with Toom at this stage of the year. And then the other one is a battle of champions of previous years. So Clonolty Rossmore, who won it last year, they're up against Lockmore Castleiney, who won it in 2013.
That's tasty now.
Yeah, that's as tasty as you'll see for this stage of a competition, like knockout. Clonolty not coming through their group in the county was a big one. So, and Lockmore, of course, they rested a lot of their players during the mid-championship because they're playing football as well. Who do you see winning that?
I wouldn't know like that much about it. Like, that's a 50-50 game to me. Like, that's one of the games of the weekend outside of a county final.
Yeah. So there's one of those underage players for Tipperary, Cathal Burke, really pacey guy. I think he came in and got a goal against Aero Gannacarty last week. The likes of Timmy Hammersley in there. Conor Hammersley, who was a tip panellist, called up last year. He was the club player of the year in Tipperary. Second training session with Tipperary, did his cruciate. He's back. He's back in the fold there.
Just on like Timmy Hammersley as well. Timmy obviously is an All-Ireland medal from 2010, but like the scores he's putting up now with Clonolty are ridiculous. Like, in last year's county final, I don't think he'd scored very, very little up until like the 28 or 29 minute. I was reporting on the match, and he ended up with something like 13 and man of the match. Like, he got 3 or 4 from playing the second half. Like, he's putting up savage tallies.
He's involved with, or has been involved certainly with Carlow. He's an athletic performance coach, and
he would have worked under Bonner in Waterford IT, and I'd imagine he would have got him in as a result of maybe knowing him or whatever. That's going to be really, really interesting.
Of course, Noel McGrath, John McGrath, fair pick of players.
David Kendi.
I think he's 43 now. Did he play in goals the last day? Yeah, it's incredible stuff. Then finally, the Wexford Senior Hurling Championship is back going this weekend. St Anne's against Shelmaliers. This has been twice refixed, once because of the weather, a second time because of a bereavement. So that game is on this weekend. If there's anything we missed or anything we should focus on for next week, please do let us know at ML Verney on Twitter and at Shane Saint. And don't forget to follow us by clicking on the button just here.